Season 11 is just around the corner, and this video will tell you everything you need to do to prepare for day 1 on December 11th. Season 11, or the Season of Divine Intervention, welcomes massive changes to existing systems, essentially rebooting the way we progress and itemize our characters. Not to mention new seasonal mechanics, a new seasonal crafting system, as well as brand new activities and leaderboards. To cover all this, let's start with the changes to crafting, beginning with tempering. Tempering now allows you to directly apply the temper you want right on an item, with the roll only varying with the range of the temper that you choose. Now, expanded from the PTR, tempers now have a chance to roll as a greater affix, which means that it'll be capped out at the highest end of the range and given a 25% boost, like greater affixes on ancestral legendaries. Best of all, you can re-roll tempers infinitely now. No more breaking items because of a bad roll. And what this means is that once you get to the point that you're trying to min-max your character, I imagine most individuals like myself who will want to push these leaderboards will focus on trying to get as many greater affix tempers as possible. Now, the only downside to the tempering change in Season 11 is that you can no longer roll 2 tempers on an item. That number is being reduced to just 1. Alongside tempering, Masterworking is being completely overhauled as well. Now, unlike in previous seasons, the 12 Masterworking ranks are instead replaced with 25 ranks of a new attribute called Quality. Each rank of Quality increases the base attributes of an item, such as resistances on jewelry, armor on your armor pieces, and DPS on weapons for every level of Quality. And as a change from the PTR, every point of Quality will also give a 1% increase to all of the affixes on an item per quality level. So the maximum quality level is 25, which means you could get a maximum of a 25% boost to all your affixes, which is still a big drop from the 60% affix increase we got from Masterworking in Season 10, but it's still a nice addition from what we saw in the PTR. Now, speaking of affixes, capstoning an item at maximum quality will now boost any affix by an additional 50% and change the text to orange, similar to when we hit a bonus masterwork every 4 levels in the existing system. The best part about the system, if you didn't get the capstone that you wanted, you could continue to re-roll it without having to completely reset the masterwork on your item like you did previously. So yes, you no longer have to reset an item, re-upgrade it from quality 1 to 25, and then try to go for the capstone that you want. Now, Season 11, the Season of Divine Intervention, is introducing the first angel on Sanctuary since Inarius in Diablo 4, and that is the Archangel Hadriel, a lieutenant of Tyrael that we met in Diablo 2. Now, in Season 11, Hadriel is providing us with a new crafting mechanic called Sanctification. The process of Sanctification grants you a random, powerful modification to an existing item with one caveat. Once you sanctify an item, you can no longer modify it in any way. This means you cannot change any tempers, masterworks, and you can't even add a socket. And of course, lastly, you surely cannot re-roll the Sanctification on either. Now, there were big changes to Sanctification since the PTR, because during the PTR, Sanctification did have a chance to make your item worse than it was before by replacing important affixes with ones less meaningful. And sanctifying an item will now do a few things. First, it can apply a bonus legendary aspect, and yes, that means you can now have 2 aspects on an item. It can improve an affix to a greater affix if it is already, and it could also add a bonus affix to an item that is unique to the Sanctification mechanic. For example, you could get multiplicative frost damage or another element added onto your item. And another cool modifier, it could add a random amount of quality to an item. So if an item is masterworked at 25, you can gain up to 25 additional quality. So that's 25% more affix increases on that item, as well as increased base stats up to a maximum of 50 total. Also, there is a small chance now that one of those bonus aspects that rolls on an item you sanctified could roll a modifier that is only on mythic unique items. Now that is really cool. Now, items and crafting are not the only system being revamped in Season 11, with both the season journey and renown changing permanently. Now, the season journey is shifting into a more challenging version stacked with great rewards called Season Rank. To progress in season ranks, you not only have to complete a number of objectives, but you also need to complete a challenging new campstone dungeon to progress further in the ranking. Now, as part of this, completing rank 2 now grants you access to the pit, allowing you to do this activity prior to hitting level 60. And the recommended level to complete a rank 2 capstone dungeon is 50. Now, there are currently 7 ranks, and unlike the season journey, they prove to be much more difficult to climb than before, with rank 7 being truly a feat to accomplish. Now, personally excited for this for 2 things. One, it's going to add much needed challenging objectives into the season for people to chase after and complete. And also, you have a new reward in nameplates for your character to show off in the game, similar to Diablo 3, with more luxurious plates being rewarded the higher that you climb the season rankings. Now, when it comes to rewards, season rank objectives are now absorbing what you used to get from Renown. That's right, so skill points, Paragon points, and obol capacity are now rewards granted from completing seasonal objectives, and as a result, the Renown system as we know it today is gone. What this means is that you're no longer going to start a season with all those Renown rewards and a ton of skill points. You will instead have to earn those back through the season rank in every season, starting at a blank state. With this flattening of the power curve, statues of Lilith, which previously granted permanent stats and Paragon points, no longer do so. They provide an experience boost now only. However, don't fret. Leveling will be a bit easier now because of skill tree adjustments. It now will take less skill point investments to unlock further sections of the skill tree. So for example, you only need 1 skill point in basic skills to unlock core skills, allowing you to access your full arsenal much earlier in the leveling journey than before. This includes ultimate skills and your passives. And this is needed because while leveling, one pay point before is that monsters, they scale up with you in level. So if you happen to do something like a depleted infernal hordes or an activity where you may gain a lot of levels, your gear can quickly fall behind and you could find yourself in trouble due to these scaling monsters. In season 11, they will no longer scale 1-to-1 with you and will scale a little bit behind so that you will retain power as you level and your gear won't go obsolete as quickly as it did before. And speaking of monsters, in season 11, they made them that much more dangerous with new dynamic behavior that responds to your actions in combat, as well as adding over 20 new monster affixes, including a return of champion packs and elites with minions that share some of their affixes that we saw back in Diablo 3. These changes are applying to every single monster in Sanctuary, including during the entire leveling process. So be prepared to see many monster abilities that you've never seen before. Now, along with the monster changes, the seasonal story involves the lesser evils themselves gathering together to invade Sanctuary, and in doing so, are taking over existing activities and adding a little bit of spice to each one. First off, Azmodan is back, and he's coming in as a permanent addition to world bosses across both seasonal and eternal realms, staying past season 11. Beyond that, you're going to be able to manually summon him from a special location in Hawazar, which is south of Sarban Zet, imbuing him with powers gained from his siblings via altars to grant you loot from their pools. Tyrael will burrow his way into Helltides and covers for the Blood Maiden while she's on vacation in season 11, being summoned in her stead. Hellborn have also been replaced with Pangs of Tyrael, which are essentially mini Tyraels, and slaying these monsters will grant the baneful hearts needed to summon him. Tyrael also brought more fun into Helltides with his family of maggots, adding protein to your cinder collecting adventures. Belial managed to light his way into the pit with his eyes randomly appearing through the levels as you clear through them. Now, unlike the PTR, Belial's eyes will now activate without touching them, just requiring you to be in close proximity. These eyes will spawn monster packs that you need to clear, and upon interacting with all his eyes in the pit, he will appear as the Pit Guardian. during the PTR, one issue with Belial is that his summoning and his death animation, that if you were running tight on time, you may still have failed the pit run just because of how long Belial's death animation is upon defeating him. After the PTR, they did change this so you'll get credit a lot faster upon defeating Belial. Now, lastly, and certainly not least, is the lady of the bunch, Tyrael, who was taken to the Undercity and has a chance to appear as the boss of the dungeon, alongside letting her minions run rampant. New tributes were also added, specifically to Tyrael, as well as significant buffs to existing tributes such as Tribute of Refinement, which grants additional ovals, and Tribute of Radiance, which grants ancestral legendaries, making things like ancestral amulets with passive skill ranks a little bit easier to get now. Now, the lesser evils aren't just for show. Defeating them feeds directly into another seasonal mechanic provided by Hadriel in the form of Divine Gifts. Now, in Season 11, Divine Gifts do not increase player power directly like in previous seasons. Instead, they directly modify activities and provide additional rewards. So, to unlock these divine gifts, you need to kill a lesser evil and they will drop their corrupted essence. You will get a unique essence per lesser evil. Now, returning this essence to Hadriel will provide you with 2 different divine gifts associated with that lesser evil. Now, on the seasonal tab, you can slot in divine gifts into 2 different slots, either purifying or corrupting them. By default, the corrupted versions are unlocked, which will provide the reward but make the activity more challenging. For example, if you were to slot in Belial's Essence of Lies, it's going to reward you by giving you a chance to get an extra glyph upgrade at the end of the pit. However, if you place that in the corrupted slot, you also get a Bane, and that will cause Belial's eyes in the pit to focus on you with a beam that deals 10% of your max life a second, making that activity much more difficult. Now, as you progress in the seasonal reputation board, which is called Divine Favor rank, you will be rewarded with purified divine gift slots. Placing a divine gift in a purified slot will provide a boon. For example, using Belial again, you will now gain Fortify for 1% of your maximum life per second within a pit instead. And the chance for an upgrade will progress even further with the purified slot. Now, the last change that I'm going to cover is Toughness. Toughness is a new stat that describes your overall defense, damage reduction, and effective health. With this comes a complete revamp with how defense was calculated before. First off, armor will now protect against both physical as well as non-physical damage, with diminishing returns the more that you have. In addition, a new physical damage resistance was added. Since both armor and resistance have diminishing returns, combining both is essential to maximizing your survivability as you climb up in difficulty. And speaking of climbing up in difficulty, going up in torment levels will no longer impact your armor and resistance. Instead, a recommended level of toughness is suggested before you move upward to a selected difficulty. You can see the toughness stat displayed under your character stat page underneath attack power, and you'll be able to compare the toughness of items between tooltips to help you inform your decision while gearing. With this, potions are also significantly changing as well. You now have a maximum of 4 potions, and each potion heals you immediately for 35% of your health. Also, in addition to potions you pick up from the ground, you will generate a potion every 30 seconds as well. So it's not all doom and gloom if you run out of potions during a difficult fight, so long as you can survive for 30 seconds. This also means that potion upgrades are permanently gone with this new change. Fortify is also changing as a result. Fortify will instead heal you for a percentage of your max life a second in exchange for an equal amount of Fortify. So you can think of it like a life regen mechanic that heals you over time as you take damage. Now, I understand these changes can be a lot to wrap around, so if you do have any questions, be sure to hop on my stream and catch me live, and feel free to ask me any clarification or additional questions on this content. Myself and my community are very friendly and willing to help you out. Now, one activity I do want to talk about that is coming new is the Tower. The This is coming in Season 11, and it resembles Greater Rifts from Diablo 3. You have 10 minutes to kill monsters, collect progression orbs, and activate pylons, which are stronger versions of shrines, and then defeating the tower boss at the end to land a spot on official Diablo 4 leaderboards that are coming in Season 11. However, unfortunately, the tower is no longer releasing at the launch with Season 11. Instead, it's being released at a later time in January with patch 2.5.2. Now, lastly, we need to talk about rewards. Blizzard knocked it out of the park again with their seasonal rank and reliquary rewards, providing a very good boy wolf pop, as well as Alapta, an armored lightning bird buddy. Also, the 2 armor sets available in the reliquary have very interesting names: Brimstone Crusader armor and the Celestine Templar armor set. Now, we got a sword and shield that looked suitable for a paladin last season, and now we're being teased with a Crusader and armor set. And what is this flail doing here as well? If Blizzard isn't teasing us with a light-bearing Holy Warrior class to come to the next expansion, I don't know what else they could be doing. And speaking of the next expansion, be sure to tune into the Game Awards on December 11th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, as the Diablo 4 dev team is strongly implying that we'll get some sort of Diablo 4 related news during that show. Now, Season 11 comes with many different changes, and frankly, that can be quite polarizing. What are your thoughts on all these changes, and do you have any questions or concerns around them? Be sure to sound off in the comments below. Also, I'll be releasing a leveling as well as best class guides prior to Season 11 launch. So if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give a like and subscribe to further support the channel. And also, I want to give a very special thanks to all my supporters, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.